I'm going to begin on slide 11 again. This is the one that Sherry was talking about when I jumped in to the middle of the conversation there. That has the rule about missing 4 trumps, including the jack or including the jack 10. This was a seminal moment for me in my bridge learning when I learned this particular way to play a hand. And as Sherry says, it's common sense. It makes sense, but it's something that you don't think about unless somebody points it out to you. So this is the hand where North bid very carefully and got to a really excellent grand slam here. It should make all day long. The problem was that his partner, Mr. South, forgot to stop for a minute and say, oh, he just looked at these hands and said, oh, this is a lead pipe cinch. Even I can't mess this up. But that was wrong because he's missing 4 trumps to the jack and the 10. If East has all 4 of those trumps, notice he cannot pick them up. And I'm going to mention something here to you as well before I forget. One of the key steps in this bidding was South's super acceptance of the spade transfer. He has a maximum with 4 card support. And that is what part of what lets his partner know that, hey, slam is in the offing here. He already had slam interest when partner opened 1 no trump. But that super acceptance says we're good here. We really need to be in at least game, even if you don't really have enough to bid on. If you have 6 or 7 points, you might want to bid game anyway, because I have 4 trumps and I have 17 high card points. So the super acceptance is an important part of Jacoby transfers, and sometimes people forget about it. And the super acceptance also sets the trump suit. Normally, following a transfer, a 4 no trump call is not key card. But when the trump suit has been set, it is. Super acceptance sets the trump suit here because the opener has promised a 4 card support. So now we know where we're going to play. We have a 9 card set in spades. Spades is the trump suit. So 4 no trump is key card. 5 hearts says 2 key cards without the queen. And North says, well, that's okay. What kind of kings do you have there, partner? And then 6 hearts says, I have 2 of them. If you are playing, this is obviously not specific kings. This is the number of kings. If you're playing specific kings, the call would be 6 clubs. And then North could bid 6 diamonds saying, if you have second round control of this suit, please bid 7. And he does. So South would bid 7. So it doesn't make any difference which kind of king ask you're using. You can still get to 7. Dummy hits the table and South says, oh, perfect. He wins the opening lead and immediately plays the king of spades because he forgot to sit and think and say, I'm missing 4 trumps. And included in those 4 trumps are the jack and the 10. If East has all 4 of them, I can't pick them up because he has the jack and the 10, and I have the ace and the 8 here in my hand, and all he has to do is play 1 of them, and then my top honor's gone. But notice, the hand here, the dummy, has 2 honors. If West has all 4 of them, we have the king, queen, 9 here, and even Declarer has the 8. So the spot cards are not a problem. It's just that jack and 10. If he stops to think, he will remember if all 4 trumps are in the West hand, I can pick them up, but only if I play the ace first. Now, if he leaves a small spade off the board to the ace and both opponents follow suit, we don't worry about it anymore. It's no longer a problem because the jack and the 10 are going to fall. But when East shows out, that's when he says, oh, thank goodness I stopped to think. He'll play the ace, And now he can play the 8. And if West doesn't cover, he can let it ride. If he covers, he can win, come back to his hand with a club or a diamond or a heart, something, and lead toward the 9 on the board. And it makes no difference what West does. He cannot get a trick because South stopped to think. I'm missing the Jack and the 10. That means I play the honor from the side that has only 1 in it first, just in case. He has no way of knowing that the trumps are 4-0. But we've all had days when every time we pick up a hand and we start playing it, that there's a bad trump split. And this happens. It happens with some regularity. So it's very useful to know when you're missing just the Jack, play an honor from the side that has touching honors in it first. That will enable you to finesse in either direction, because you only have to finesse once. This is in the case where the opponents have only the Jack and not the 10. But when the opponents have the Jack and the 10 and all 4 trumps are in one hand, you must start by playing the honor from the side that has only 1 first. I hope this makes sense to everybody. If it makes sense to you, it'll be easier for you to remember. As Sherry said, it's common sense if you stop to think about it. But if you need to, get a deck of cards out and lay them out like this and go through the play. You'll be amazed how well this works. And this is a trick that's worth remembering, definitely. Does anybody have any questions about this? Ella has a question. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Could you not do that same thing if you're just missing a Jack? Go to your ace in your hand and then play your king, queen?
Well, if you play the ace from your, if you're just missing the Jack, and you play the ace first, what if East has 4 to the Jack over here? Now, all of a sudden, you can no longer finesse and pick up that Jack. If you lead toward the ace, and East plays a low one, West hasn't played yet. So if you're missing only the Jack, you start with the king or the queen over here first. Then if somebody plays off, say if East plays off, well, then, hey, I can lead to the 8 and pick that up. If West shows out, hey, I can lead to the 9 and pick it up. But when you're missing the Jack and the 10, you have to be able to finesse twice. That's why you have to have the 2 honor side intact. You have to have both these honors up here because you have to take 2 finesses to be able to pick up this holding. But as I said, it's only when they're 4-0. If they're 3-1 or 2-2, no worries. But notice, Ella, if you lead low to the ace and East has 4 of them to the Jack, you can no longer finesse him out of the Jack. He's not going to play the Jack.
And knowing which one has the Jack.
Well, and that way, the way that you can preserve your finessing position is by playing one of the honors from the side that has 2 of them first when you're missing only the Jack. Then it doesn't matter whether East or West shows out because you have retained a high honor in both of these hands that will enable you to finesse in either direction. But if you get rid of the ace the first time, missing only the Jack, if East holds 4 to the Jack here, then now all of a sudden you have to give him a trick. And he doesn't deserve it because you can pick it up when that's the situation. Missing only the Jack and small cards, start from the side that has 2 honors. Missing the Jack and the 10 with small cards, start from the side that has the single honor. And it only works if the hand that has the Jack and the 10 are sitting behind the hand with 2 honors. If, for instance, here, if East had the Jack 10 fourth, we're just down. There's nothing that can be done about that holding if East is the one who holds all 4 of them. You cannot pick it up. But you can if West holds it. And so that's why and once you give up this ace here, missing only the jack, then you have lost the ability to pick up the jack that's in the east hand. That's why you start from the hand with 2, missing only the jack, not the jack and the 10. Okay. I hope that answered your question, because Ella, I don't know another way to say it. I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's great.
If you'll call me after this or later this weekend, I'll see if I can't figure it out for you better. Let's move on now to number 12 here. The failure to count is often the downfall of defenders and declarers both. Counting is hard. It's a hard thing to learn to do. And in fact, when you first start learning how to count a hand, your results often tank because you're spending so much of your time and focus trying to remember who played what when and keep track of all 4 suits. This involves remembering the bidding too. My only hint that I can tell you is when you first start trying to learn to count the hand you know the most about. For instance, if one of your opponents opened with a weak 2 bid in hearts, say, you know the most about the distribution in that hand, so count that hand. You know that he started with 6 hearts, and you can kind of figure out from the play to the rest of the hand what else he has. It's much easier than trying to figure out his partner's hand. Now, you see the dummy and you see your hand, so all you have to do is figure out one hand. Then you know what the other hand has. You only have to figure out one hand, but that can be hard. I will admit all day long that learning to count is hard, but not making the effort is a mistake. If you want to improve your bridge game by leaps and bounds, learning to count out a hand as both declarer and defender is a really valuable skill. I don't know whether any of you still have the CD drives in your laptops or anything, but Mike Lawrence has 2 really good CDs on counting at bridge. They're old, so I bought them and then discovered that my laptop doesn't have a drive, so I had to buy an external drive, but it was inexpensive. And I've spent some time going through them, and they are excellent. It's still a tough subject, but they are really, really good. And I'm sure other people have some products as well. But Mike Lawrence has just an unbelievable number of books and CDs and stuff for learning, if anybody is interested in pursuing that. So here we have an example of how failing to count can be a mistake. Here's the auction. West opened with a diamond, north pass, east bid a heart, and south overcalled 2 clubs. I don't have any problem with this. This is an opening hand, and it has ace, jack, 10, 9, 8 for the suit. I would rather have a 6th one, but not a perfect world. And if my partner's on lead, I sure wouldn't mind a club lead here. So south bids 2 clubs, west doubles, showing 3-card heart support. He doesn't know how many hearts his partner has, but he uses the support double to show 3-card support. And then north says, well, hey, I have 8 points and nice club support. I'll bid 3 clubs. And that ends the auction because Miss East over here has a dead minimum and only has 4 hearts and is not interested in playing the 4-3 hearts set. So West starts out with 3 rounds of diamonds here, and East roughed the 3rd one. She switches to the heart queen, and it's time now to have a think. If you didn't before, we know right now that West started with 5 diamonds, don't we? Because East followed to only 1 round. We have 2 heart losers. One can go away on the diamond 10, which is now good, after I draw the trumps, and the other one will have to be lost. This means that I have to play the clubs without losing a trick if I'm going to make this bid. So how should he do it? If he stops to think for a minute, he has an absolute roadmap. As I said, we know West started with 5 diamonds because East followed to only 1 round. And the support double said, I have 3 hearts. Well, now there we know 8 of the cards right there. So I need to figure out the black suits. And if you notice, nobody bid spades. Between the dummy and the declarer's hand, there are 5 of them. When you have an unbid major in an auction, missing 8 cards, it's almost a lead pipe cinch that they're 4-4. Otherwise, if somebody had 5 of them, they'd have bid a spade, right? Nobody did. Nobody did. We know that if West had had 5 spades, he'd have opened 1 spade instead of 1 diamond. So we know he doesn't have 5. The odds are pretty good that he has 4 because, as it turns out, if East had had 5 spades, he'd bid spades first instead of hearts, right? So he doesn't have 5 spades either. And it's a lead pipe cinch. Nobody has 6. If nobody bid them, they have to be 4-4. Because if they'd been 5-3 or 6-2, either East or West would have bid that suit. So this is the way I tend to think about counting when I'm thinking about an unbid suit, particularly a major. An unbid major, particularly the spade suit. Spades are so important. That doesn't get bid in an auction generally means that they're 4-4 when you're missing 8 of them. So I'm going to make I'm going to draw an inference here and say that West has 4 spades. So how many clubs does that leave him? Only 1, right? Only 1 club. Well, it could be the singleton queen, but it's not horribly likely. But what I'm going to do then, wherever I win that heart trick, I'm going to lead to the king of clubs in the dummy. And if that singleton that West has is the queen, I'll pick it up. But after I lead to the king of clubs, I'm going to lead to the jack 10, 9, 8, or the jack 10, 9 will be all that's left, and take a finesse. You can see I'm going to need to take several of finesses here, but I can pick up queen 4th by taking basically just 2 finesses. And I have the king of spades and the king of clubs to get over there to do that. So after I've done that twice, I can pick up the queen, and then I am all good here. But if you don't count, stop and count out the hand, and you're not sure how to play, maybe I should play for the drop. You know, I have 8 of them. Should I play for the drop? The rule says finesse. Well, from the bidding, it looks to me like West is the odds-on favorite to have the queen. You know, you would assume that because he opened. But with queens, you just never know. You just never know. All you have to do is switch the king of hearts and the queen of clubs over here, and you have virtually the same hand. And West would bid the same way that he did. So it's really worth the effort to stop and think about what the bidding and the play to the first couple of tricks shows you. We knew right off that West had 5 diamonds and 3 hearts. The rest of it was just in thinking about how the spade suit has to lie around the table. And the clue there was from the bidding. Nobody bid spades. So that's what enables you to figure out that West started 4-3-5-1. And South makes this 3 club bid. Okay, now, I talked about counting when you're defending, and here's an example of counting as defender. This auction started with East, and he passed. South opens a club. West overcalls a spade. Yes, I know that's a crappy suit, and a lot of times I would fuss. But notice West has an opening hand. East and West, right? At this point of the auction, we don't know who owns the hand. We know South has an opening hand and West has an opening hand. So in this case, you have an opening hand. Your suit's kind of terrible, but that's all right. If partner leads a spade, oh well. I want to be in the auction because I don't know whether North or East has the balance of the remaining points. If it's my partner, I want to get my spade suit in the auction. North doubles, negative double time here, showing 4 hearts in either support for clubs or for diamonds. East passes again, and South bids 1 no trump. South bids 1 no trump. He has pretty good spades, doesn't he? He has a singleton heart, but he knows partner has 4. He has the diamonds pretty well in hand, and he has a nice 5-card club suit. I would rather play 1 no trump than I don't particularly want to play 2 diamonds, and if he bids 2 diamonds here, now North has to bid 3 clubs, and we're at the 3 level all of a sudden. He has 10 points, so that shouldn't be a big problem. But 1 no trump is just a better call. Yeah, there's a singleton and partner suit, but he had enough to double a spade. I'm giving him 8 points or so, and so I think 1 no trump is a viable contract here. All right, now then, let's think about the defenders here. If I am Mr. West over here, I'm thinking about, oh my goodness, South bid a no trump, and I have a really weak suit here. I don't know that I want to do that. My spades are so bad that it will take 3 leads to get them set up, and I'm not sure that I'm going to get a trick with the diamond king or the heart king, because after all, remember there was a negative double showing 4 hearts in the dummy. If North has the ace of the hearts and the queen of hearts, I may not get a heart trick at all. So all things considered, West now leads the 4 of diamonds. Okay. Dummy's 8 wins the trick, which is unfortunate. I hate it when that happens. That's that's not what you want to happen when you're on lead against no trump. But declares in the dummy, so he leads a small club to his king, and West wins the ace. And rather than lead another diamond, he stopped to think for a minute, which is always a good thing. He looked at the heart suit in the dummy more than anything else, and he said, hey, I know the declarer does not have 4 hearts, or we'd be playing a heart contract. It's a lead pipe cinch that South has to hold the king and queen of spades for his no trump call. Now he's got top clubs too, because he's setting those up. He probably has the missing diamond honors as well. And once he thinks about all of this, he says, okay, 12 to 14 points is what he showed. And the way I'm thinking about this, that's about what he holds. I think he doesn't have much in hearts. More importantly, he cannot possibly have the heart ace. He can't possibly. Notice there's 10 points in the dummy, South opened, and West has an opening hand. That leaves room for only 3 or 4 points in the East hand. Is it possible that East can have the ace of hearts? Absolutely it is. So catering to that possibility, West puts the heart jack on the table. The jack. That's an important call. That's an important call there to play the jack. So When the dust settles, it doesn't matter whether declarer covers the jack or not. If he doesn't, West will lead the king, and when declarer discards, West knows exactly what's going on. Then he leads the 8, and if declarer still doesn't cover, partner East can take it with the 10 or the 9, winning the trick, playing the ace of hearts, and taking 5 heart tricks to go along with the ace of clubs, holds declarer to the contract. When I looked at this hand, when I found it, there were some north-south pairs that bid and made 3 no trump here. The only thing that West did was stop to think about what the bidding and play to the first couple of tricks meant. Count the high card points that South had to have, and the way he played to the first 2 tricks. He bid no trump, and he bid it without the ace of spades. The ace of spades is in the dummy. So all things considered, leading another diamond trying to set up a trick with the king is not going to work. You can see that the declarer is going to take the trick probably with the 9 this time. And that's about the time that West wants to beat his head against the wall. But instead of being just completely married to the first idea that he had, he stopped to think and switched to hearts. This is a good defender, Mr. West here is. But all he did was count and think about it. Count points in this case. What the no trump call meant, 12 to 14 high card points. Looking at what's in the dummy, looking at what's in his own hand. What could my partner possibly have that would help me? He did not defeat the contract because 1 no trump cannot be beaten, literally. But he held it to contract. And in a lot of cases, just holding your opponents to the contract that they have bid gets you a good score. And in this case, it got East and West a top, a total top. So learning to count, saying it's too hard for me to learn to do, I wouldn't argue that it's hard, but it's not too hard for anybody that plays this game. This game is not Uno, so anybody who plays bridge is smarter than the average bear. And that means that any of you can learn to count. Does it require effort? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Absolutely. It absolutely is.
Sherry has a question, Susan.
Go right ahead, Sherry. Mm-hmm.
You said that the leading the jack heart was important. What was West thinking when he led the jack? Because I have trouble when I see 3 cards like that. Do I lead the 8 or the jack?
Well, he's the queen in the dummy. If his partner has the ace, like he has projected, he doesn't want to lead low because if he does, he'll block the suit. So the first thing he should do is lead the jack, trying to get the declarer to cover with the queen.
Great.
Then partner can return a low card to his king, and he can return the 8 back. You have to play this combination so that you don't block the hearts. So you got to lead one of the first 2. It might work out just as well to lead the king first, then the jack, then the 8. You might think about that. That could be done, but I want to lead the jack and see if I can't make declarer cover. Of course, he won't. I wouldn't cover. You cover only when you're hoping to promote something. So he should play low. And East over here should play the highest card he can afford, like maybe the 9 or the 10 to encourage. Now, though, he can't lead the 8 because partner will take the trick, and when he leads back, he'll win the king and be stuck in his hand. If the jack holds, he has to put the king on the table and then the 8. This is unblocking, getting the high cards out of his hand. But that's the way that the defense gets 5 heart tricks and the ace of clubs, and that holds the declarer to contract. Does that make sense, Sherry? Leading the jack is because he sees the queen in the dummy, basically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That helps me a lot.
Okay, good, good. All right. Now here's what about defending. Particularly early on, you tend to see defenders just lead out aces early. They'll lead unsupported aces. They'll lead a king trying to get a trick with a king, that kind of thing. Defenders need to plan ahead just like the declarer does. While the declarer is sitting there formulating his plan, but each defender should be sitting there thinking, okay, I have this many points, dummy has this many points, this is the contract they're in. My partner should have about this many points. How are we going to defeat this? We need to take this many tricks. I can see 2 tricks. I need 4. What does my partner need to have for us to be able to beat this contract? What could he have from the bidding? Can he have enough that we can set it, or is it all on me? This is the kind of thing that the defense should be thinking about. But many, many times, defenders give things away, or as second hand, they hop up with an ace. There's only really one time when you ought to do that, and that's when your partner has a long suit he's trying to set up, and you have an entry. You need to take it and put partner's suit on the table again to help him set it up. Otherwise, you shouldn't just hop up with high cards. For instance, here, if declarer is going to lead toward the king jack and the dummy here, if West just hops up with that ace, he solves declarer's problem for him. When I'm sitting West and I see a holding like that hit the dummy, like king jack 6-2, I look around the rest of my hand and I think about the bidding and I think, okay, I'm going to play low here. Depending on the card that the declarer plays from his hand, he plays a low one, I'm going to assume that he doesn't have the queen. That means that my partner might have the queen. And if I jump up with the ace, well, when missing 2 honors, they're usually in different hands. So that kind of gives the declarer a good idea about how the honors are. When I'm sitting there in this situation, I say I'm going to duck the first time. I'm going to duck unless something happens between now and then that convinces me otherwise. If I need to give my partner a rough, I'm going to hop up with the ace and do it. But under most circumstances, I'm going to duck when the declarer leads low from his hand. And now he has to decide whether to play the king or the jack. There's no denying that the declarer is always going to get a trick with the king. He's entitled to it on this lie of the cards. But if West as defender can play low smoothly, that should be the only trick that the declarer gets. He's entitled to a trick with the king, and that's all. If he decides that the honors are slipped from what I show here, that the queen is in the west hand and ace is in the east hand, he may try to go up with the jack to force the ace. And partner can take his queen. Now the defense gets 2 tricks from the suit. But if West just hops up with that ace immediately, you eliminate declarer's guess. And anytime you make life easy for the declarer, it's not a good thing. Chances are you're not going to get a good result. So when you see something like this on the table, decide ahead of time what you're going to do, and then don't hitch. Play low smoothly if that was your decision. Larry Cohen has a little blurb on his website about this very thing here. Here you are, you're West, and you won the first trick. Dummy had a singleton in the suit that you led. So we're not going to give the declarer a ruff in the short trump hand. That's not a good idea. So got to pick something else. A lot of times I've seen many people at trick 2 lead out an unsupported ace when they didn't do it at trick 1. Look at the layout of this hand. Declarer is entitled to only 1 trick from this holding. But if you just lead out that unsupported ace, you've given him 2 tricks. The idea behind defense is that aces are meant to take kings and queens, not 2s, 3s, and 4s. So leading out an ace in this situation is just not a good idea. And even if the situation is reversed, if I flip the hands around for east-west and leave north-south the same, it's the same thing. As east, you have to keep that ace to guard the king and the dummy. If you play it prematurely, then declarer is going to get 2 tricks in the suit. If your partner leads low from jack third for some reason, that's not a great lead, but sometimes it's necessary. And the declarer doesn't call for the king, you put in the 10. He wins the queen. That's okay. He's entitled to 1 trick. If you go up with the ace here, though, he gets 2, 1 with the king and 1 with the queen. So remember, as defender, when there's an honor in the dummy and you have a higher honor, you need to guard that high honor in the dummy and play your next highest card so long as it's a 9 or better. In this case, the 10 forces the queen, and that's perfectly fine. He was always going to get that trick anyway. But at trick 2, you don't want to lead out an unsupported ace any more than you do at trick 1. It's just not going to produce great results. Now, here's an issue that comes up so often at the table. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've seen it. And this is the situation where your left-hand opponent opens the bidding, your partner makes a takeout double, and advancer just bids at the cheapest level. And then later on, he turns out to have 12 points or some such thing. And the problem is that the doubler doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. He may guess and bid on, but then if partner has 4 points, that's not going to work out well. But if he has more than that, well, somebody needs to bid on. But you got to remember, bridge is a partnership game. You need to try to make life easy for your partner. When you make life easy for your partner, you'd be surprised how quickly your results will improve. Tell your partner what you have, instead of just making her take a guess. If you have forgotten what the rules are for advancing a takeout double, here they are. With 0 to 8 points, you bid your longest suit at the cheapest level. With 9 to 11 points, jump a level. You jump 2 levels to show length, but not much strength. Something like a 6 or 7 card suit and 6-ish quacky points. This might be something like a really week 2 opening, one with 5 or 6 points in it, 6 or 7 card suit, and that's it. That is one bid that people forget sometimes. You can jump 2 levels, like 1 club double, pass 3 hearts. Well, cut it off, partner. You've shown 3 card support for my suit, but I don't have much. This is a preemptive response to a takeout double. With game going values, if you know which game you belong in, bid it. If you're unsure, maybe you have 2 4-card majors and you don't know, but what partner doesn't have 4 in one major and 3 in the other? let's have him choose. And you do that by Q-bidding the opponent's suit. If your hand is suitable for no trump because you have some length and strength in the opener's suit, you can advance one no trump with 8 to 10. But remember, partner short in the suit that was opened. Remember that. That's the nature of the takeout double. You can bid 2 no trump with 11 or 12 high card points and just bid the game if you have 13 to 15. That's it in a nutshell for takeout doubles right there.
Susan, there's a question from Susie in the chat. Do you
Uh-huh.
still use these guidelines if there's interference after the takeout double?
Sure you do. Let me tell you what. If it goes 1 club, double, 1 heart. If I have 6, 7, or 8 points, I'm going to bid. Because my partner has an opening hand and I have a responding hand. The same as the opener and the responders do. Maybe I have spades. I'm going to bid if I'd have responded to an opening bid by my partner. If I have 4 or fewer points, I'm just going to pass. But even if there's interference, if you have 6, 7, or 8 points, bid. There are some people out there who will bid with no values. They don't care. And if I have 9 to 11 points and I've got a 1 heart bid over here and I have 4 spades, I'm going to bid 2 spades because my partner has promised support for the unbid suits. I'm not going to let somebody talk me out of it. Now I have to trust my partner that she has her call, that she has a true takeout double. But if you trust your partner and you get a bid by your right hand opponent, bid what you'd bid anyway. Do it. Don't let people push you around. Some people, particularly at favorable vulnerability, will say, well, I've got 4 points, but it's an ace, so I'm going to bid. You'd be surprised how often that works for people. They talk people out of bidding when they should because they bid when they shouldn't have. And after people do that a few times, people learn that about you. They learn that you often bid when you don't have the values. And as John Parrish used to say, when you bid with no values, nothing good happens. So know your opponents and trust your partner would be my best advice in that situation. Does that answer your question, Susie? Maybe she went to get more.
It does. Thank you very much. And you answered my second one too.
Good. All right. Bad bidding part 2. There are more missed games and missed part scores because your partner overcalled and you had support, but you didn't advance. The whole solution is that old axiom, support with support. Here's a basic tenet of standard American bidding and overcalling. Until you know otherwise, assume you respond to your partner's overcall the same way you'd have responded if he opened in that suit. Except he has 5 of them. If he overcalls a diamond, 1 club, 1 diamond, he's not asking you to bid a major suit. That's the difference between overcalling and opening the bid. He's telling you, this is the suit that I have. Do you have support for me? So everyone should support with support. If you have 3 diamonds in your hand and sufficient values, by all means, raise. He may only have 8 points. Maybe he's got ace, king, jack, 5th of diamonds, and that's all. But that's all he promises. If you have support, bid 2 diamonds. Even with modest values, you should raise if you can, or if you can't, you can always bid 1 no trump. That just says, well, I have something over here. I just don't happen to have 3 card support for your suit. With a little better hand, say up around 11-ish points, you can introduce a new suit. And you should remember that when it's an overcall, an advanced situation, a new suit by advancer is not forcing. It is constructive, meaning I have a good hand that doesn't have support for your suit partner. Do you have support for mine? Is what it asks. This is the way that most everybody plays a new suit by the advancer. Non-forcing constructive. In other words, the overcaller can bid again or not as he thinks is appropriate. And in a competitive auction, remember, it is very important to bid to the combined number of trumps held by your side. If your partner overcalled, promising at least 5 cards in the suit, and you have 4 card support, don't be afraid to bid at the 3 level. Even with a weak hand, the law of total tricks is your friend in a competitive auction. Now, you should never use the law of total tricks to try to determine whether to bid a slam or a game or something like that, unless your partner preempted and you happen to have 4 card support in the suit. You just bid it because you have 10 trump between you. But the law of total tricks will help you out in a competitive auction. It is a really, really valuable thing to follow. And of course, if you have limit raise values for your partner's suit, you can ask your partner, how good is your overcall? You have a full opening hand over there, or are you on your usual lousy 8? And you do that by Q-bidding the opponent's suit. This typically shows at least 3 card support and limit raise values. So don't be afraid to Q-bid. Q-bids are strange bids. And remember, all strange bids are forcing. Right? Okay.
A question
Yes.
from the chat. I thought if advancer bids a new suit, it was forcing for one
No,
reason.
and not unless that is your partnership agreement. It is not the same thing as opener and responder. Overcall, remember, your partner can overcall with as few as 8 points. So having a new suit be forcing is not in your best interest. Most people play that a new suit by the advancer is non-forcing, but it's constructive. In other words, I have a good hand over here. If you have a weak hand with no support, just pass. You know, there's nothing that says that you have to advance an overcall if you have a weak hand with no support. But if you have a good hand with no support, you can certainly suggest an alternative suit, another place to play. Basically, what that says is, I have a good hand, partner, but I don't have any support for you here. Do you have support for me? And if he has 3 card support, he should pass because the bid is non-forcing. You got to remember your roles at the bridge table. Opener and responder have different rules than what overcaller and advancer has. Overcaller or takeout doubler, whichever you are. The rules are different depending on which direction you are, whether you're the opener or whether you are the overcall. So unless you have a specific agreement with your partner that a new suit by the advancer is forcing, you'll notice on the back of the convention card, you have a place to mark what it is. I play non-forcing constructive with all of my partners, and everybody I know plays that as well. Sherry, do you have a question?
Yes, can you just go over again the Q bid when you with limit values and supportive partners overcall, you Q bid the opponent's suit.
Let's say your left-hand opponent opens a club and your partner overcalls 1 heart. Your right-hand opponent passes, and you're sitting there with 3 nice hearts and a hand worth about 11 points. Now, normally, if your partner opened the bidding, you would bid a new suit, and it would be forcing, and then you would jump to the 3 level to show a 3 card limit raise. But since advancers bids are not forcing, a new suit is not forcing, the best thing you can do is bid 2 clubs. saying, partner, how good's your overcall over there? I happen to have limit raise values with at least 3 card support for you. What do you think?
That was a great explanation.
Good. Okay. That's what I wanted. Q bids are just a way of using the opponent's bids against them. What that does is if you use free Q bids, then if you're sitting there with 4 card support for your partner and a really weak hand, you bid 3 hearts. It's a preemptive raise because there is a known 9 card fit. Your partner overcalled, he has 5 hearts in his hand. If I have 4 of them, I don't care if I have 3 points in my hand, I'm bidding 3 hearts. Because I have the Q bid to use when I have a true limit raise. The limit raise can keep the contract at the 2 level if partner just has 8 points. He'll bid just 2 hearts and everybody will pass and it'll be great. But if I have a weak hand and I want to keep the opponents out of the auction, let's say, for instance, here, the auction, my left-hand opponent opened a club. My partner overcalled a heart. Righty bid 1 spade, showing 5 spades in his hand. If I have 4 hearts, I'm bidding 3 hearts immediately if I'm weak. But if I have limit raise values, I'm going to bid 2 clubs. Not 2 spades. 2 spades would force my partner to the 3 level anyway. I'm going to Q bid 2 clubs to my partner and say, hey, I have a nice hand over here and I have support for you, but I'm not sure how good your hand is. So you make the decision. You're in a better position to judge than I am. So basically that's the logic behind using Q bids to show a limit raise of an overcaller suit, because it frees you up to use a 3 of the suit call as preemptives. Law of total tricks bid. Okay. Let's move on to the next one here. Bad penalty doubles. I've been guilty of this. I bet some of you have too. These are doubles that are based on high card points alone. The solution to this problem is not to double just because you have a strong hand. Often the opponents bid to a high level because they are highly distributional. So look at this north hand here. He opened a heart. East bid Michaels. 2 hearts, showing spades and a minor. South didn't bid 3 hearts. He should not be afraid to bid 3 hearts. There is a known 9 card fit. If he had limit raise values, he would Q bid spades, the known suit here in the Michaels Q bid. The fact that he bids 3 hearts is preemptive. West passes. He has the worst hand at the table, of course. And North bids 4 hearts. He says, I don't care if you're weak. I have a really good hand over here. Problem is, his king of spades is worthless, but you know. And then 2 more passes, and West says, oh, no, you don't. I'm bidding 4 spades. We're not going to make it. But I think you're probably liable to make 4 hearts, and I don't want you to. So he bids 4 spades, and North says, double. West thinks he's sacrificing. Notice, 4 spades is cold. And there are only 13 high card points between those 2 hands. It's distribution. I quoted my mother here. North has every right to think that he can set it, but he knows from the Michaels Q bid that the East hand is very distributional. And his king of spades is finessable. Don't double on high card points alone. You have to have tricks. And most of the time, those should be trump tricks. And North doesn't have trump tricks. He's sitting in a bad place with that king. And East knows where the king is. You know, he wasn't born yesterday. Here's another biggie, and this is telling the same story twice. When you have told your story, you've told your story, folks. And the solution to this problem is to stop rebidding 5-card suits, and that includes 5-card minors. If you rebid a suit, you show 6. And the only reason you should rebid a 5-card suit is once in a while, you're going to be stuck for a rebid when you play 2 over 1, and you're forced to rebid a 5-card major suit because nothing else is appropriate. That's the exception rather than the rule. This happens often when a suit has been opened or when the suit is some number of no trump. For instance, here, West opens a spade, partner responded 1 no trump. You rebid 2 diamonds, not 2 spades. Partner denied having 3 spades unless he was planning to jump to the 3 level. If you play 2 over 1, then if he was planning to jump to the 3 level, he can still do that. But you don't rebid 2 spades here. You rebid 2 diamonds. I see this error made less frequently. This is the one I see a lot. Partner opens 1 no trump. West bids 2 hearts, transferring to spades. Holding only 5 cards in the major suit, West's next bid is some number of no trump. In this case, with 11 high card points, the correct number of no trump is 3 no trump. It is now up to the no trump opener whether you play 3 no trump or you play 4 spades. You don't rebid spades just because you transferred unless you have 6 of them. When you have transferred, your next bid is some number of no trump. If you have 0 to 7 points, you pass. If you have 8 or 9, you bid 2 no trump. And with game going values, you bid 3 no trump. The last one that I see with some degree of frequency is what we call captaincy issues. Who is the captain of this hand? Or put more clearly, maybe who's driving the bus? Let's say one member of the partnership opens with a preempted bid. That preempted bid tells the whole story of that hand. He never bids again unless his partner forces him to. Sometimes I see players want to open a 7-card suit at the 2 level to give myself a better chance of making the bid. Folks, the object of preempting is not to make the bid. The object of preempting is to obstruct the opponents. So if you have 7 cards in a suit, bid at the 3 level and then zip it. You have told your whole story. Bidding the suit at the 2 level gives the opponents the opportunity to exchange information. People will bid over a weak 2 more frequently than they will bid over a 3-level preempt, simply because they have to have a better hand to bid over that 3-level preempt. What often happens in that situation is that the preemptor bids to show my extra length. Well, if you're willing to bid to the 3 level, do it the first time. Don't bid 2, let the opponents exchange information, and then bid 3. That's really poor bidding and poor use of preempts. It just isn't a good idea at all. And the last example here is in the instance of Michael's Q bids or unusual 2 no trumps, 2 suited overcalls. About 90% of the time, the person using a 2 suited overcall will have 8 to 11 high card points. And when partner chooses a suit, the overcaller tends to assume that that's 3-card support. You should never make that assumption. You know what they say about that word assume? Partner really may have only taken a preference. He may have 2 cards in one of your suits and 1 in the other. He's going to choose the one with 2 cards in it, obviously. And he has to bid because a Q bid is absolutely forcing for 1 round, even a Michael's Q bid. So with a minimum Michael's call, the person who uses it passes whatever partner bids. You bid on only with 16 or more high card points. Remember, you forced your partner to bid. Just like when you use a takeout double, he's not promising you 6 points, and he is not promising you 3 card support. So remember, who's in charge? In the case of a no trump auction, the no trump opener has limited his hand immediately. That means his partner is the captain. But depending on the auction, the no trump opener may become the captain again, just like on the previous slide where I said that the responder should rebid 2 or 3 no trump if he has only a 5 card major suit. Now, captaincy goes back to the no trump opener because he's the one who decides. So sometimes it changes during the hand, but these are 2 really important examples here. Once you have preempted, your partner is in charge. Your partner will take a save if one is to be taken. If he has a really good hand, he can force you to bid again. But otherwise, once you have preempted, you tell your whole story and then you put down the green card, unless forced to do otherwise. That's it for this morning.
Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for watching this video today. Most of these videos come from our free bridge lessons that we present on Zoom every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you'd like to join us for those lessons, you can email us at the address shown below and we'll send you the link. If you can't attend the lessons, then feel free to subscribe to our channel and you'll be notified when there is a new one added. Again, thanks for stopping by and we hope to see you soon.